Hi, this is Michael Tillinger, and today I'm talking to my friend Tim Saunders, all the way from England, London. Is that right, Tim? You're in London?
That's right. Yeah, I'm back in London. Yep.
In London. And Tim started a very important and amazing service for all of humanity, and that is providing very affordable and successful and effective means to protect yourself against radiation. 5G radiation, cell phone radiation, and pretty much all the nasty radiation that we find that we are under attack in the electrosmog that we find ourselves in, surrounded by all kinds of frequencies that are really not good for our bodies, our anatomy, and our brains, and our ability to survive. So welcome, Tim. Great to see you. And tell us a little bit more about how this whole thing started.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks, Michael. Yeah, great to see you again. And yeah, well, it all started through you, through your Ubuntu festival that you had in 2018, was it? Or a long time ago, like a couple of years ago. 2018, yeah. And it was funny because someone else invited me to that festival, and then she dropped out. And then I just thought, well, I'm just going to go anyway and see what happens. And but I just knew from all of the people that you brought together that I would find something that I would resonate with and like, you know, get into. And there were just many things, you know, you had all these people talking about saving the animals and, you know, the pyramids and lots of amazing dancing and all that great stuff. But yeah, there was one lecture from a guy that you know called Ilija Lakicevic, and his lecture was completely balmy. I mean, like, you know, totally sort of off the wall, and, you know, all these concepts that I was just like, that can't be true, and all those sort of things. But halfway through his talk, he just said, oh, and I've also got the solution to all the radiation problems in the world. And I thought, well, that's a huge call, you know, that's, you know, because of my history, you know, I'd had some medical problems, shall we say, and when I was living in Singapore, and I'd learned that, you know, electromagnetic frequencies do not resonate with the human body. I didn't know why at that point, but I'd learned that was a truth, and I could test that through muscle testing, and there were other tests that you could do. And so I got his product in South Africa, and I started testing it with people at your festival, and the muscle tests showed that it worked extremely well. So I took it home. You know, we hung out on your ranch, didn't we? A couple of days, and we had that amazing museum tour that you did, and I got to know him a bit better there, and everyone else. And then, yeah, I took it back home to London, and I thought, well, what else can I do? What other tests can I do? And I looked for a live blood analysis test, and that checked out extremely well too. So I was like, okay, I've got something here. I can build a brand around this solution, because it is, as you mentioned before, very important, because the levels of radio frequency just going up and up.
Can I just interrupt you here briefly, Tim, and just don't lose your train of thought? I just want to lay out a little bit for people that are watching this about Ilija Lakicevic. So he's a professor. He's a highly acclaimed academic. He's one of the most, I guess, respected or informed and educated scientists and particle and plasma physicists in the world. Ilja was the head of the Max Planck Research Institute. Was that in Austria or Switzerland? I think it's in Austria.
And yeah, maybe Germany.
Germany, yeah. Could be Germany. And it's just, he's just one of those incredible scientists, out-of-the-box thinkers, inventors, and academic of the highest order, but this definitely does not behave like a mainstream academic. He's definitely way outside of the borders and the paradigms of mainstream academia, and yet he is a hardcore mainstream academic, which is an interesting, very unusual individual to find and to be able to connect with. So it's fantastic.
Well, his knowledge is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, it turns everything on its head. He gives the new concepts of everything from the atom to gravity to magnetism, the whole lot. The trouble is that he's such an advanced thinker that sometimes he has trouble just explaining it to you and me. Well, not you, but definitely me. But I stayed with him and I went through his papers and I made notes and I made sure that, and I asked him loads of stupid questions, because I'm not from a science background, you know, I'm not, you know, I didn't really gel with science at school. I'm more of a musician and, you know, sort of arty type person. But I just thought there's something in this, something in his teachings. And I went through it, I made notes and I asked him stupid questions. And then I got to understand everything from the atom sort of upwards. Well, not everything yet, but, you know, I made a great advance in my knowledge of physics from his perspective, from his knowledge, from his papers. And it was mind blowing. It was just like, well, this is, everything's so simple. It's not the way that it's been taught to us. We're being fooled on such a great level. And when you have those aha moments, then everything can return to simplicity and something really quite beautiful as well, you know, because he's all about, you know, the idea that the creator has been removed from his or her creation, you know, from the creation, you know, the idea that they're removing God from science and removing the idea that there is a creator of everything. And he's like, well, logically, nothing creates itself. You know, this table that I'm sitting at can't create itself, and nothing else can create itself. Everything has a design, everything has a creator.
This is really important that you bring this up. So, you know, we've determined that Ilja Lakicevic is an extraordinary individual. And let's also say he's a Serbian, same as Nikola Tesla. So it seems that that part of the world has definitely delivered not just Tesla, but many other great minds and great thinkers. And as we know, that whole area there has been responsible for a lot of ups and downs in global economy and global events, you know, from the assassination of Sarajevo of Franz Ferdinand was that just before the First World War and so forth. So it's a very interesting part of the world that seems to spawn a lot of great out-of-the-box thinkers. And Ilja Lakicevic is one of them. And I'm so glad you brought this up, that everything is so simple, because that's what I've discovered myself through my research and the conclusions that I reached, that everything is so incredibly simple, and how everything connects together, and how absolutely you're right. And Ilja is absolutely correct. As he says that science has removed God and removed the creator from everything, from creation. And this is where I find the story of creation and the Big Bang so absurd, that is still shoved down our throats, the whole Big Bang theory. And remember, it's got the word theory attached to it, but they sell it as fact, right? So,
yeah, absolutely. It's this mass hypnosis situation, you know, where you know, you repeat a theory and a model on top of that, and then you make some assumptions, and then you wrap it up into, you know, more and more, you know, misleading trails, and you know, people get stuck in their head trying to sort of figure it all out and put another theory out, and before you know it, no one's kind of queried the original, you know, the original assumption. And then Dr. Lakicevic comes along and says, well, actually, my measurements show this, and the measurements are super simple. And the atom that he talks about, which I know I've seen you talk about in your presentations as well when you come to London, is this still magnetic 0 point at the center of the atom, and then the atom is just a spinning torus field of light, you know, and everything, like Tesla used to say, everything is light compressing itself into what we perceive as matter. You know, everything, even my body, this table, this wall, everything is the compression of light into matter. But obviously the difference between the wall and my body is that I have a mind to move my body around, right? And to move the atoms in my body around. So yeah, I just, on a very simple level, I get all these aha moments from working with him. And because he knows the nature, the true concept.
What I also want to say, what you mentioned earlier about yourself, you said that you're a musician, and that is not a coincidence, Tim. What I find,
right,
most of the people that I'm connecting with around the world that have made discoveries and breakthroughs and be able to connect the dots that make sense, have some sort of a musical background, or are musicians themselves, active musicians that then change or become something else. But music seems to be the common denominator for a lot of great thinkers and out of the box inventors and so forth. And the reason for that is that because they understand harmony, resonance, coherence, and so forth. It just, as a musician, you understand that, and this is what you are. You know how to play a chord, how to structure chords, how to create something with coherent harmonic resonance, which is called music. So the fact you put this together from Ilija Lakicevic, or Lucky as he is known, the fact that you were able to put this together is not a coincidence. It's your musical background that allowed you to connect those dots. I just want to bring that up. Just
I think you could, yeah. No, I think you're right, because there's a lot of intuition in music, right? There's a lot of feel, right? So instead of you being in your mind where you have to figure everything out and there's a competition for who can be the best scientist and blah blah blah, the intuition side comes more from the heart, doesn't it? And when you connect with the heart, and and then when I connected with his science, it was just like there's something there, and that was very much became my truth very quickly. But yeah, as I was going to say, because he knows the truth about the atom, he can also explain the truth about why our cells react to radiation, and in fact what wireless radio frequency radiation is, and how it spins and vibrates in a different way to the spin and vibration of our human cells. So when they meet, there's this kind of dissonance, which is vibrational disharmony, as you know, and that's almost like an orchestra tuning up, when you're like, oh my God, what a horrible sound. It's, I always say that, because we try and use analogies, because this is a complex topic, but I try and use analogies that everyone can understand. But if you could hear radiation from wireless devices, you'd be like that, oh my God, what a horrible noise. It'd be so discordant, but you can't hear it. And most people can't feel it until we do a muscle test or something like that, when they really can feel it and they see it for themselves. But yeah, it's this agitated, imbalanced wave field all around us, and it's getting turned up, stronger and stronger. And it won't be long before we all start to react, because we are electrical beings. Everything in our body is electric. Our heart is a big electrical pump. The wave fields in our brains are electrical fields. Even me moving my finger around is electrical current. My mind moving electrical current around in my finger. Every atom has this electrical current around it. So when we pick these things up, it's the meeting of two very strong electrical fields, and this one is imbalanced and this one's balanced. So when we meet this one, we absorb that imbalance in our bodies.
Tim, can I ask you quickly, just to for those that are impatient watching this video and this discussion, would you mind holding up one of Ilja's little stickers that he created that actually prevent this radioactivity from destroying our bodies? Because this is ultimately what we're coming to, what we're talking about, these tiny little stickers. Third, that's a redesigned version of from what I've got from Ilja. That's now
right.
with your Omnia logo. I know that his original stickers had Nikola Tesla pictures all over them. And in fact, my laptop, as I'm talking to you, and all my electronic devices, my router, everything in my office, my TV, everything has got these little stickers on them. So and my cell phone, obviously, as well. There we go. There you can see. There's one.
Yeah, that's
and there's one. So
those are the originals. They're the collector's items. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and we had this discussion, me and Lucky. He said, I said, look, not everyone knows who Tesla is, which is true, but he's like, of course everyone knows who Tesla is, because that's his world, right? He thinks that everyone knows. But I was having people saying, dumb people, I should say, or people that he didn't realize, is that Hitler, And I'm like, well, that's not great branding. And I just thought, I need to put my logo on there because it's my company. I'm doing all of the marketing and all of the, and all of the messaging and so on. I just thought it has to align with the brand that I'm creating, which is Omnia, Omnia Radiation Balancer. And we chose Omnia because it's,
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but there's a bit of a delay. So Omnia is the company that you created to market this very, very successful way of neutralizing very bad radiation. But what's important is that the ridiculousness of the fact that such a tiny little sticker can be so effective. So when I first saw this, when Ilja first gave me these little stickers at the Ubuntu festival that I met you at in 2018, and keep in mind, I've met Ilja before. I met him in 2012 in Holland at the Breakthrough Energy Conference, and we've stayed friends ever since, and shared, you know, scientific breakthrough ideas and so forth. So these are some of the amazing and remarkable people that I've met in my life and my travels, and he's just one of many that I get a lot of information from. So when I talk about these things, it's not me coming up with it, but me taking that information and then expanding it myself. So when he showed me these little stickers at the Ubuntu festival, I just thought, God, you got to be kidding. How is this possibly going to affect and protect me against radiation? But then you've seen other, you know, people promote tiny little things. Now, I don't know the effectiveness of other gadgets and devices, but I certainly put this on my phone, and we started doing some of the muscle tests. You were there. My wife, Emma, at the time, she wasn't my wife, but we started doing all these weird muscle tests and kinetic tests and so forth. And it seemed to have worked immediately. The moment you expose people to this little sticker on their phone on a device that radiates electromagnetic fields, and opposed to not having that little sticker present, there's a distinct difference. Now, you've taken this research to a whole nother level. So please share with us the kind of research that you've done with these little stickers that protect us against radiation.
Sure, yeah. Well, it started with what you said there, which is like kinesiology and applied kinesiology, where you basically use the body's strength and its electrical signals to tell you whether you get a yes or a no. So many people don't realize that the body has this amazing intelligence within it, where it can tell you whether it is coherent with something or incoherent with something. So, you know, you do a muscle test, you can do one like this, where you just pull down on your arm, you resist, you gauge your strength, and then you put your phone in your hand, do the same thing. And because, like I said earlier on, everything in the body is electric, the body's electrical circuitry is challenged by the phone. So your body starts to weaken. So your strength isn't there. And then we put the patch on and the body goes super strong. Like, you know, even a lot of people say it goes even stronger than it was before, which is nice, but you know, everyone's different. So, so that was the first test. And then I took it home to London, and I found that there was a guy literally lives a mile away from where I live, does live blood analysis. And so I went in there and we did a test where I held a phone and watched a video for 20 minutes. Well, first of all, we took a baseline, and all your blood is meant to be like circular, you know, space around the outside of each cell so that each cell can get oxygen to it and pass through capillaries well and all those sort of things. So my first sample was, you know, mostly that. And then after 20 minutes of holding a phone and watching a video, the whole sample stuck together. All the blood cells stuck together in adherence. And that I've since found out is called Rouleau syndrome, which is not a disease in itself, but it does denote stress. It denotes electrical stress in the body, you know, expressed through the blood cells. And then we put the patch on immediately after, while my blood was still all stuck together, watched another 20 minutes, and it reversed those symptoms. And so that's when I realized, right, okay, we got a physical test as well as kinesiology, which a lot of people are still, you know, struggling to really understand, because again, it's one of those things that's so simple that people mistrust it, because they think everything scientific has to be, you know, empirical, you know, have, you know, all these peer-reviewed studies and all of these sort of entrapments of academia, right? And then you come up and you say listen to your body, and they just have trouble even listening to their body because their mind's all distracted.
Can we just quickly explain to people that are new to this, or they don't understand, when you say the body is electric, and when you hold this dissonant piece of equipment in your hand, how that affects your body immediately? So when you test your muscles, they feel weaker. And so let's just quickly explain this to people. Keep in mind that every atom in your body that makes up the molecules in your body, that makes up the chemical structures of your atoms and the different organs of your body, every bond between the elements in every atom is an electromagnetic bond. So it's an electric bond. It starts with sound and resonance. It turns into magnetic fields, and those moving magnetic fields through your body then create this electric field around your body. So an electromagnetic energetic field around your body. This is why every time your heart beats, it creates this powerful electromagnetic toroidal field around your body. And people, some researchers have shown how the electromagnetic resonance of your body is about 5,000 times stronger than that coming from your brain. So it shows you how powerful your heart is and how powerful your body is as an electric or electromagnetic entity. So your entire body is connected through these electromagnetic bonds between all the elements and the electrons and the atoms and all the molecules in your body that make up the organs that make up your entire body, trillions and trillions of cells. So the moment you hold something in your hand like a cell phone that disrupts that electromagnetic field, all the trillions of bonds that hold your body together, of course it's going to affect your body and the muscles and the tones in your body. So that, I hope that explains it very, very simply.
Well, I always say that we are cell towers too. We are towers of cells.
Yeah.
And all of our cells have electrical current running around them. So we are broadcasting energy at all times. And we have choices as to whether we're broadcasting love or fear or hate or, discrimination, all of those, the gamut of emotions and feelings and so on. And certainly when you get a radio frequency meter and you hold it next to your phone, it goes completely berserk. You have to see the amount of radio frequency that comes into these things. It's massive.
You show that on all your videos. Your videos show that. So we put the links of the videos here so people can go watch them and really see how effective this very basic sticker technology is. It blows your mind.
Yeah. Well, it does. So, yeah, I mean, just going back to the sticker is imprinted with a new type of energy. So not only has Laki given us a real core understanding of everything in physics from a different perspective, from his knowledge, the light ring of the atom, the magnetic point, the trade-off between the electrical field of the torus that spins around the magnetic point in the center, and the fact that that is related intrinsically to consciousness, because that magnetic point, if it sits in the absolute direct center of the field, you have harmony, you have love, you have, compassion, all those good things in the world. But just as we are mental beings having a mental experience and our free will is something that we exercise on this planet, if we start to think feelings of fear, of greed, of hate, whatever it is, that magnetic still point will stray away from the center of the field. It'll become disturbed, and then the energy is then disturbed too. So one of the things that Laki says, which sometimes gets me into a bit of trouble, but I'll say it anyway because I think your audience will understand it, is that everything that man creates is created with his own consciousness imprinted in that creation, right? So if you create an electricity grid, right, where it's literally a system of, and I know this is very close to your heart, generate the power, everyone extracts it, and then they have to pay for it. When they extract it, it's gone, right? So you're now attached to a loop of enslavement, right? You're a slave to the electricity grid, right? So the energy grid is effectively laced with this greed energy, this energy of greed and oppression. And that as a vibration is not something that my brain likes when I stick it next to my brain, unless it's got one of these patches on, because this patch changes the state of the radiation field and brings it back to the balance and centeredness of love energy or, harmony. So it's incredibly deep what he does, but it's incredibly simple in the way that he does it, because this new energy that he's working with called Deca energy, which is something that he's bringing to the world, which I really hope that he can develop new solutions with, because as soon as he does, then everyone's understanding of energy will change, which will have huge repercussions for the whole of society, to understand what energy really is, to understand what radiation really is, and understand that energy doesn't have to be served off a grid for money to keep you as a slave. So, all of these things are, I'm just waiting for people to really get to grips with it, as I know you are, because you're way ahead of me in terms of, like, you've been preaching this for ages. So there's lots of interesting stuff to come. If I could just finish off the other two tests that we've done as well.
Yes,
I started talking about those, but I haven't quite finished on those. So I mentioned kinesiology and live blood analysis. All of these you can check out on my website. And then we did autonomic response testing, right? On a 5G field, because this phone I have is a 5G phone, but I just keep it on 4G or 3G. But if I need to switch it onto 5G to test it, then I can. Sadly, 5G is coming up everywhere in London at the moment. You know, with lockdown, they're just putting all the towers up and so on. So, so we did this thing called autonomic response testing, which measures the coherence of the light body around you, right? It has these, you know, it's a combination of advanced muscle testing, which we mentioned earlier on, and the interrogation of the light body through these apparatus that they use, a pole filter and something else. But you can see in the video, but ultimately, exactly the same thing happened. You know, you take a baseline and you see the coherence of the light field, and then you put a phone in your hand, and the coherence of your light field just totally, you know, evaporates. You know, it gets challenged very severely. So you know, there's stress in the body effectively. And then you put our patch on the phone, and the stress completely disappears. Right, it goes back to the baseline. But then we were mucking about, and we said, okay, what happens if you put it next to your head? And there's something about all the electrical wave fields in your head that resonate really well with this new radiation field, because not all radiation is bad, right? There's good radiation and bad radiation. Good radiation, like the sun. The sun gives life to everything, including us. All our food, you know, everything lives through the sun. So there's good radiation. Obviously, the sun is hot, right? So people like me can get sunburn. So we have to be careful about that. But ultimately, without the sun, nothing be alive. So what we do is we change the state of that radiation field so that it is balanced, centered, and in the same vibrational pattern as all of the energy in our body. But when you put the phone to your head, we found through autonomic response testing that the body goes into this deep healing mode. Which they do by testing what they call the O-rings, which are all these meridians between the fingers. So if they pull those apart and everyone is absolutely rock solid, then you know that you're in this yang state, what they call a yang state. So that was massive news for me. It was like, we're actually taking the phone and turning it from something that was causing imbalance in the body to now actually, you know, sending the body into this deep healing mode. So that was huge news. That was the other test that we did. And the last one, which I've done one on recently, is water structure. So we basically we get a glass of water, we fill it up to the top, we put our phone on top of the water, and we irradiate the water. We do it once without the patch and then once with the patch. And the difference is huge. And that's good news for your body, because we are 72 to 90, our blood is over 90% water. So the theory behind that is that water is conscious too. It is actually responding to everything that it meets vibrationally. And when you irradiate the water with imbalanced radiation, you know, and then you freeze it and then you take pictures of it, there's no structure there at all. It's completely destroyed. But when you put our orb patch on, then all these crystals emerge, you know, and the water organizes itself into its perfect crystalline structure.
I think,
and according to Laki, going back.
Sorry, I just sorry to interrupt you again. That we need to just say, for people that don't understand what you're talking about, you're talking about Dr. Masaru Emoto's technique of capturing images of water molecules in a frozen state that have been exposed to certain frequencies and radiation that show you different levels of destruction of the beautiful hexagonal structure of the water. The perfect hexagonal structure of perfectly structured water is very obvious when you see it in the hexagonal pattern of the water molecules, as opposed to destroyed and ripped apart and scattered water molecules when they've been exposed to certain frequencies and radiation. So this has been documented over many decades.
And there's a mirror of that in our blood as well. You know, if you have the perfect plump, you know, blood cell, then that's in good vibrational and geometric structure. But, you know, you can take pictures of your blood where your blood is all torn apart and destroyed by toxins as well. So, you know, that's how it it mirrors in our bodies, if you like. You know, if you're eating too many McDonald's or whatever it is, then that's what's going to happen to your blood cells. But yeah, in water, this technique is very clear, and Dr. Emoto has left us with this this technique, which is, you know, still controversial for a lot of, like, you know, mainstream scientists. But, you know, the proof is in our photos, whereby, you know, when you take photos of the water that is irradiated by harmonized radiation, then the water responds well. There's no doubt about it. It's like night and day. So so yeah, that gives us a lot more confidence that, you know, it's an effective solution. And then there's two other tests that we've got coming up, which is heart rate variability, and the last one is a thing called bioimpedance phase angle testing, which apparently just is a very new modality, which can tell absolutely everything in the body, kind of electrically and from a mitochondria perspective as well. But I'm still learning a little bit about that one. But so yeah, once we've got all of those tests done, I hope that we'll have pretty much, we'll have a good set, enough for everyone to understand at least one of those tests, if not all of them. So that's what we're doing.
Would you mind just holding up your patch again, up to the camera, just so people can see it? That's it. That's, yeah. Okay, so that's what the patches look like. Each one of those images is a little circular sticker that you stick on your device, on any kind of electronic device. Put it on your microwave, put it on your cell phone, put it on your laptop, put it on your TV screen, put it on your router, put it everywhere around your house, put one on your forehead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it creates, the more you put around the house, it creates this, you know, resonant network of good vibrations. So
yeah,
you know, it'll create harmony.
Yeah, listen, I just had a brainwave. Maybe this could be a whole new thing in India, you know, where some of the women, I think it's the women or even men, wear the patches on their head. What if you could patches with these beautiful encoded harmonious frequency neutralizers? That could be a very interesting opportunity for you.
Well, I mean, when I mentioned the autonomic response testing that we did earlier on, and we were just mucking about after that, and we said, well, let's see if it works without the phone, you know. And I was like, well, no, it doesn't. And then they basically just put one on the heart, put one on the head, put one actually on the ear, which was very responsive, and it had the same effect, right? So if you held the phone in your hand and you put the orb on your chest, it had the same effect of sending the body into this deep healing mode. So we can now bring out pendants, and this is important for kids, because kids of, you know, a very young age, 5 or 6 or whatever, are going to schools, and those schools are being blasted by this, you know, radiation, imbalanced radiation, and they don't have phones to correct that. And all schools, like all corporations, have all of these health and safety checks, where if you go in there and you say, listen, I've got something that could really help the kids, they're completely constipated and unable to actually see what the truth is because of health and safety and regulations and all that sort of stuff. So their mothers are going, what have you got? And before we did the ART test, I had nothing. I said, well, I don't think it will work unless you put it on your phone. But now I know that we can make these little, you know, wristbands or pendants, and the kids can go to school with something that will keep them, you know, protected, I hope.
What about, you know, just buttons that the clothing industry sews into your clothes? You know, you can take it to a whole nother level if you start thinking about in so many.
I mean, the best thing I think is like a little brooch, you know, like a little brooch which you can take off and put onto different clothing, because otherwise you have to remember which clothes have the protection, which don't, and it just, you know, yeah, there's loads of opportunity here, and the good news is that I believe, and actually, you know, just to tell a slightly sort of woo-woo story, I've been working with a healer recently who's absolutely extraordinary. And sometimes when things get a bit, you know, dark, shall we say, I actually use this energy in this patch to hold it up in certain ways. And when I, you know, and she feels where I'm holding it up as well, even though, you know, she's miles away. And we both realize when I move it to a certain spot that there's just this decompression. And so the energy that's in this patch, which is, I don't know if you want me to talk a little bit more about it, but ultimately he's discovered this new unit of energy, right? And
I was going to ask
that's the only way I can just.
Can you describe what it is that's encoded in the sticker? I think maybe that's a good way to end this discussion, as what is actually encoded in the sticker that Ilja Lakicevic has discovered, that is so simple to encode that we can surround our lives with, surround our environment to live in a harmonious environment.
Yeah, well, this is the massive revolution and the great good news that he represents, which is that this unit of energy that he's deploying and basically infusing in the sticker, it basically is available to us in the ether. It's in our atmosphere. It's coming down with the rain, and it's helping the evolution of the human race. The ascension, if you want to call it that, because it is the perfectly balanced unit of energy, meaning that the 0 point in this unit will never ever stray from the center. Right? We mentioned earlier on that if you pictured a radiation field, the 0 point would be moving around from the center. It would never sit in the middle, right? But this structure is a dodecahedron, right? It's a 12-sided kind of cuboid, and it has the difference between this unit and a classic dodecahedron is that it has 12 spirals of light spinning into the center, right? So there's 6 pairs of spirals going across this dodecahedron structure, and the combination of all of those spirals going into the middle means that the 0 point is always the absolute epicenter of the dodecahedron structure. So this unit of energy, what he's found, is something that we can program. We can program it to perform certain tasks.
So what's important to add at this point is that this kind of technology that Professor Ilja Lakicevic has developed, that you're now taking to the world. And I'm just so grateful that you picked up on this, because there's really not much I could have done with it. And you took it to a whole nother level. You did the tests. You've got absolutely empirical scientific proof that these tiny little stickers do protect your body, that do protect your blood. They unclot your blood that is destroyed and turns into blood clots in your body through radiation, exposure to radiation. It shows beautifully in the videos that you share how your body is protected through kinesiology, etc. So you've done all the work, the scientific evidence, and this is where the one small town will, when we get to the one small town situation, this kind of technology and services will be available to people everywhere in our towns, and as it should be. This and so much more technology, science, knowledge, breakthrough, healing, energy, etc., etc. So this is just a glimpse into what the world's going to be like once we take back our towns and turn them into places of prosperity and abundance. And yeah, Tim, is there anything else you'd like to add to people that they can get these stickers on your website? I take it.
They can, but we are going to do a special discount for your customers, and we need to decide. I'm going to spring this on you right now. We need to decide what your discount code is going to be called. Shall we call it One Small Town, or shall we call it Ubuntu? So yeah, please have a look at our testing results. If you've got any questions, then send us an email from the website, which is www.omniaradiationbalancer.com. And please use those codes, because then we can track them and compensate and all the rest. So yeah, no, thanks very much for the opportunity, and thanks for introducing me to Laki, because it's sent my life in a way that I hadn't anticipated at all.
Tim, before we go, what is the possibility or what are the benefits of turning these stickers into bigger stickers, into maybe a decal on your car, or a bigger sticker for your front door and your back door? Or is there benefit in that kind of application?
Well, from what I understand, the Deca units are tiny. According to Laki, they're like 100 times smaller than an electron. So ultimately, this is nanotechnology that we're talking about, you know, tiny, tiny microscopic stuff that you can't see, which is why people have trouble sort of engaging and understanding it, because this nanotechnology, these tiny, tiny little particles can be put into a tiny sticker. So your sticker on your phone is actually smaller than the ones I sell right now. So size is kind of not important, but maybe putting 2 on rather than 1 is a good idea. I have 2 on my laptop, for example, you know, 1 on my screen and 1 on my base. I'm just overcautious, I guess. But no, as I understand it, the Deca unit of energy is tiny, and it's extremely powerful. And yeah, we just, if we have more revelations about what it can do, I'd love to come back on your channel and talk about them as well.
Excellent. And I think I will set up a chat with Ilja Lakicevic himself just to catch up and see what he's and pick up where you and I have left off here and see what he's planning to do and some of his great discoveries as well. So Tim, thanks very much. Great success and great luck with all the stuff that you're doing with Omnia. Just what's that website again? Omnia?
OmniaRadiationBalancer.com. Use the link that your special link, if you know what I mean.
I'll put the link on my website for people to use to go and buy these little stickers. Protect yourself, protect your house, protect your laptop, your family, your child's lunchbox, their suitcase, their briefcase, their cell phones. These stickers bloody everywhere, because it will make you a lot more harmonious with this electro smog that we find ourselves in. Until next time, this is Michael Tillinger. Bye for now.